Hello, another episode of our behind-the-scenes presentations of the different parts of Cursed Empre TTRPG, and today I will be touching on the skill system of Cursed Empire. The game system itself, we used a D100 for rolling under skills, and also a D20 for the crit die, and I'll be explaining a little bit how that works. But the idea was, when we set out to do the different skills, is to have a comprehensive list of capabilities that characters can choose from. In second edition, we had a huge amount, too many, I have to say, and that was one of the reasons for really reworking that. So, without any further ado, I'm going to just kind of cover the skill side of things. So, every skill has what we call a base skill chance. So this is in a kind of normal difficulty level, where you have to roll below the skill, and you also roll your D100 and then you roll D20 at the same time. So it's a combined roll, just speeds things up. And if you roll a 1 or a 20, different things happen obviously at the end of the scale. If you roll below your percentage, you only succeed the skill roll. And you have certain skills which you're born to do, you're very good at, and so on. So in the setting itself, we have, so you roll that. If you get a 1 on the D20, in normal circumstances, you get a critical failure, and a 20 is a critical success. That can be scalable depending on your level of skill and the level of difficulty. So if it's a difficult situation, you increase the critical failure range by 1, and if it's easy, you increase the critical success by 1. So it's a quite straightforward system there. In terms of the gameplay and running skills from the Master Tales perspective, we also are very keen to implement and have in place passive successes. Now, what do we actually mean by this? We mean that with the aim to keep the game flow, progressing and fluid, and not slow things down, slow the pace down. Certain actions are so straightforward for a character to complete that there's no dice roll. So the Master of Tales will then decide, well, you completed that was straightforward, that was a success, and you move on. So it really is down to the Master of Tales' choice on when they implement passive successes, but we do recommend having those in, because they are very helpful to keep the flow of the gameplay. Of course, difficulty levels have a big impact as well. If you get we mentioned earlier on in a previous episode about tension dice and the tension die. If you get a critical success, you then reduce the tension die by 1 point. A critical fail or fumble, you then increase it by 1. So the more you fail, the more the tension grows, which is obviously, there's sort of a direct correlation between the more successful you are, the more you grow in confidence, and the less tense things become. In terms of, we do have options for skills over 100%. That can happen for characters that are very, very skilled in something, but it still means that certain things can happen if things get very difficult. In terms of the kind of list of skills, I'm not going to go through them all because there's absolutely still quite a few, but we have basically 3 kind of subcategory sublists, and they come under the core attributes of might, mind, and mysticism, which we covered in a previous episode, that are then directly linked to the skills below them. But if I was just to pull out some example of skills, some of the fun stuff we have, things like acrobatics, things like body art, for example, tattoos, capable to actually do tattoos, but also body art as a skill enables characters to read another character's body art. Now, what we mean by read a character's body art, some opponents, some characters in the game, some non-player characters can have tattoos. For example, the Darkans are really no exception. Most of them are tattooed, and you can, from the tattoos they bear on their bodies, you can actually read their history. You can see how many hits they've had, how many successful missions they've completed. That's a big part of the game as well. So actually be able to read tattoos, read the meaning of them, understand them from a role-playing perspective, and then provide additional background. So, for example, as a Master of Tales, if I had a character who had that skill and they were successful, they'd encounter some opponent, maybe a Darken or an opponent. They would then be able to read that opponent's the symbology of the tattoos, and then be able to relay that information to the rest of the party and warn them of how serious that opponent would be. So just one example of some of the kind of original skills we have in there. Obviously, things like music, ventriloquism, fun things like this, painting, poetry, and then other more classical skill sets. But also we have things like brewing and cookery and so on, engineering, hunting, leatherwork, etc., shipwright. We mentioned in a previous episode about the importance of seafaring individuals, or very much people who are capable of going to sea, casting off and basically navigating. And shipwright is another key skill. For example, to repair vessels and so on and so on. So cartography, different magic types, understanding, how to handle animals. Also, use of exotic weapons. We also have exotic weapons in the setting. There's really a host of skills in there. Some you'd expect to find in this kind of role-playing game, but also some really quite unique ones like Imperial law or Darken law, which can give you an edge in a game. Some of them seem more obscure, but it's quite fun. Although I know we mentioned in an earlier episode that the idea is to kind of max out a few of the skills, to have a couple of original oones in there as well, because they're going to give you that edge in terms of gaming and gameplay and atmosphere and so on. So and then we have there's quite an extensive list here of different skill sets, science, alchemy, astronomy, etc. Obviously all the sciences, smithy, being a smith in a weaponsmith or blacksmith, for example. Swimming is a big one, because I said before that actually the mass population cannot swim, so knowing how to swim gives you an edge. Some people are scared of crossing a river in Thargos, as crazy as it may sound. It's just that fear of water. But also things like tracking and so on, and obviously weapon mastery is another big one. So all different weapon types, another big one in there in terms of the game. These are all laid out in an extensive chapter, all described in there. But when you come to build that character, the choice of skills, you get we mentioned before, the skill pack that comes with the character, and then you get to pick and choose the extra pieces you want to add to that, to flesh that out a lot more. And once again, this notion of passive roles, crit and critical success and failures, which then impact the tension die mechanic, but also give you story points and bonus renown points. That all comes into play. So really, and once again, when we mentioned in the previous episode, the fact we have this rapid, quick character generation mechanic or system, that gives you automatic skill packs, so it just speeds things up even more. And that's really it. And really, there's nothing stopping, obviously, Master of Tales come with their own extra skills, but we felt that what we have there is pretty comprehensive, and not quite as crazy as second edition, which was really off the scale in terms of skills. We hope that's been useful. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you. Bye-bye.